Hello everyone, Mr. Kaczynski with you. Section O of IXL's 8th grade math, and in this video we're going to classify quadrilaterals. Alright, so on this one we have a four-sided figure, which is a quadrilateral, but the question is that the best name to describe it? Is it a parallelogram? Well, to be a parallelogram, its opposite sides would have to be parallel. I don't see that. To be a rectangle, it would have to have four right angles. Same thing with a square, it would have to have four right angles and all its sides would be equal. But we're not given any indication that those things are true, so the best we can call this is a quadrilateral. Alright, best describes this. It is a trapezoid because its opposite sides are parallel. That's what those arrows indicate. But is it a rhombus where it's got two sets of parallel sides and all four sides equal? No. Is it a parallelogram that has two sets of parallel sides? No. And it's not a rectangle because it doesn't have four right angles. So the best we can call this is a trapezoid. This is definitely not a rectangle because it doesn't have four right angles. It is a parallelogram because its opposite sides are congruent and parallel to each other. It's not a square because to be a square it would have to have four right angles and all its sides congruent. It's not a trapezoid because a trapezoid only has one pair of parallel sides. So this is a parallelogram. Okay, although this does have four equal sides, it does not have four right angles. So it can't be a square. It has two sets of parallel sides, so we wouldn't call that a trapezoid. That would be a parallelogram. This is a parallelogram, but it's a special kind of parallelogram where all four sides are congruent, and we call that a rhombus. So even though it is a parallelogram, when they say best describes it, rhombus is more specific than parallelogram. It has four right angles, but not four equal sides, so we can't call this square. It's got two sets of parallel sides, so we would not call it a trapezoid. Rhombuses have four equal sides, so it's not that. So the best we can call this is a rectangle. Four right angles. This has four right angles. That does make it a rectangle, although that's not one of the options. It is a rhombus as well because it's got four equal sides. It's a parallelogram because its opposite sides are parallel. It's not a trapezoid though, because a trapezoid only has one pair of parallel sides. But the most specific thing we can call this is a square. Okay, and that kind of brings us to, well, not quite, I'm sorry. What name best describes this shape? Well, it doesn't have any parallel sides, so not a trapezoid. It doesn't have any right angles, so not a rectangle. The opposite sides are not parallel. The adjacent sides are congruent. It's got two pair of adjacent sides that are congruent. We call that a kite. Okay, so this one's kind of interesting, and we'll end on this one. It says choose all that apply. Well, this is a rhombus because it's got four equal sides. So any quadrilateral with four equal sides is a rhombus. This is a parallelogram because its opposite sides are parallel. Okay, so this side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to this side. So that does make it a parallelogram. It is a square because it's a rhombus with four right angles. It's a quadrilateral because it has four sides, and it's a rectangle because it has four right angles. So even though we would most specifically call this a square, all of these names do apply to it. Alright, so that's classifying quadrilaterals 1, part of IXL's Section O in 8th grade math. Good luck.